A single architectural blueprint appears across the ancient world. From the deserts of Egypt to the jungles of Guatemala, the pyramid form was built by cultures separated by vast oceans and thousands of years. This video will reveal the profound reasons why this same design emerged again and again, offering you a new understanding of humanity's shared past. We will explore why these structures mirror the heavens and how they were built with such impossible precision. What does it say about us that civilizations who never met all reached for the sky in the very same way? But when we speak of pyramids, what image truly forms in your mind? Most of us instinctively see the perfect, smooth triangles of Giza rising from the sand, yet a broad, stable base that intentionally narrows as it rises, creating a structure that pulls the eye and the spirit upward toward the sky. This fundamental shape, this tapering monument, is the true global phenomenon. Recognizing this shared architectural heartbeat is where our real investigation begins, because when cultures who could never have known each other all arrive at the same profound answer, we must ask what the question was. The timeline of these monuments presents a puzzle that defies a simple story. The Great Pyramids of Giza were already ancient history, their limestone casings still gleaming in the sun, when the first stone was laid for the Great Nubian Pyramids in what is now Sudan. While Rome was at its peak, the massive Pyramid of the Sun was being erected at Teotihuacan in Mexico. And centuries after that, as Europe was navigating the Middle Ages, Maya architects were reaching their own zenith, constructing the towering, steep-sided pyramids of Tikal and Chichen Itza. This was not a single moment in time, but a recurring theme in human history, echoing across millennia. Consider the sheer scale of this separation. When the Egyptian pyramid age began around 2,600 years before the Common Era, the cultures of Central America were developing in complete isolation. By the time the classic Maya were building their grandest ceremonial centers, between the years 250 and 900 of the Common Era, more than 2,000 years had passed since the height of Egyptian pyramid construction. There were no shared letters, no traveling merchants, no maps to guide one culture from the other. They were living in entirely different worlds, separated by an unbridgeable ocean of time and space. This vast chronological spread forces us to abandon the comfortable idea that one culture simply taught another. It points instead to something far more profound, a shared human impulse that surfaced independently, again and again, at different points on the clock of civilization. How can we explain this pattern of parallel innovation, where the same architectural answer emerges to a question we are only beginning to understand? If we could pull back to a view of the entire planet, a remarkable pattern would emerge. This shared architectural idea is not confined to one continent or one corner of the world. It appears with startling consistency across the map. In the Nile Valley, the pyramids of Egypt stand as eternal sentinels against the desert sky. Far to the east, in the plains of China, ancient earthen pyramid tombs of the early emperors rise from the landscape, their original stepped forms now softened by centuries of growth. Across the vast Pacific, on remote islands, stone platforms built in a distinct pyramidal style served as sacred foundations for community life. And of course, in the dense rainforests of Guatemala and the Yucatan Peninsula, the limestone pyramids of the Maya pierce the jungle canopy. The sheer distances between these sites are almost incomprehensible. The gap between the pyramids of Giza and the temples of Teotihuacan is over 7,000 miles. Between the Ziggurats of Mesopotamia and the massive mounds of Cahokia in North America lies an entire ocean. These were not neighboring towns sharing ideas. They were worlds apart, separated by impassable mountain ranges, scorching deserts, and the immense, trackless blue of the seas. When we plot these monuments on a map, we are not looking at the spread of a single culture. We are looking at a constellation of human genius, with each point of light shining independently across the void. This global distribution presents us with a powerful choice. We can view it as a series of impossible coincidences, a fluke of history where dozens of cultures just happen to build in the same general shape. Or we can see it as evidence of something fundamental, a shared human impulse that transcended geography and time. The map itself becomes our first compelling clue, pointing toward a connection that runs far deeper than any trade route. So if the map reveals a constellation of independent genius, then the blueprints these cultures drafted must hold an even deeper secret. When we look past the surface differences of stone, earth, or brick, a set of common architectural rules emerges with stunning consistency. The first and perhaps most profound rule was a deliberate connection to the cosmos. Builders from the Nile to the Yucatan went to extraordinary lengths to align their pyramids with the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. This was not a matter of simple guesswork. It required sophisticated astronomical observation, often tying the structure's orientation to the precise path of the sun or the fixed positions of certain stars. This shared practice suggests that for cultures across the globe, a pyramid was more than a building. It was a celestial anchor, a way to tether their sacred space to the orderly movements of the heavens above. The second universal rule was an obsession with mathematical precision. The proportions of these structures were not arbitrary. They were carefully calculated, often incorporating ratios that reflected a deep understanding of geometry, sometimes even mirroring the mathematical constants found in nature itself. This reverence for proportion is vividly illustrated by comparing two seemingly different pyramids, separated by an ocean and over 1,000 years. Consider the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan in Mexico. Its massive base is laid out with an orientation that deviates from true north by just a fraction of a degree, a feat of surveying that still astounds engineers today. Its volume and layout are believed to be based on a complex, integrated measurement system that governed the entire city. Now, look at the bent pyramid of Dosha in Egypt. Its unique, changing angle is not a design flaw, but a deliberate correction partway through construction. This shift in slope reveals a sophisticated, almost experimental approach to achieving the perfect, stable form, demonstrating a profound grasp of engineering and geometric principles under immense pressure. Both structures, one in the Americas and one in Africa, showcase cultures speaking the same silent language of mathematics and celestial alignment. The third recurring element is the use of terraces or steps. Whether it is the grand stairway of a Maya temple or the tiered levels of a Mesopotamian ziggurat, the pyramid form was almost never a pure, smooth triangle. It was a staircase. This was a profoundly symbolic choice. The stepped sides physically and spiritually facilitated a journey from the earthly realm at the base toward the divine at the peak. These shared technical choices, the alignment, the mathematics, the steps, are simply too specific to be mere coincidence. They point toward a universal human understanding, a collective discovery of a form that perfectly bridged the earth and the sky. This shared blueprint forces us to wonder, were these cultures all tapping into the same fundamental truths about our world and our place in the universe? This shared architectural blueprint, grounded in mathematics and geometry, ultimately points its peak toward the stars. The true purpose of these structures was to become cosmic mountains, physical bridges between the world of humans and the realm of the gods. Their precise alignments were not just feats of engineering, but acts of profound spiritual intention, a way to anchor the chaotic flow of earthly life to the perfect, predictable cycles of the heavens. Cultures separated by oceans and millennia all looked up at the same sky and saw a divine order they yearned to replicate on the ground. This common yearning led to eerily similar astronomical solutions. The ancient builders of the Great Pyramid at Giza, for example, designed narrow internal shafts that aligned perfectly with specific stars, creating a direct pathway for the soul of the departed pharaoh to ascend to the imperishable constellations. Centuries later and thousands of miles away, the Maya astronomers of Chichen Itza constructed the Caracol, a round tower atop a broad pyramidal platform. Its oddly placed windows and architectural lines were not random. They were a sophisticated observatory meticulously calibrated to track the complex cycles of the planet Venus. This celestial body, seen as a god of both war and rain, dictated the timing of military campaigns and agricultural rituals. How is it possible that two cultures with no possible contact both developed structures that so precisely married architecture with astronomy? The answer lies not in shared blueprints, but in a shared human desire to understand and influence the cosmos. The pyramid became the ultimate tool for this, a man-made mountain whose sides and angles could be precisely calculated to capture the light of a solstice sunrise, frame the descent of a particular star, or mark the zenith passage of the sun. This was humanity's first global scientific endeavor, a unified quest to build a mirror for the heavens here on Earth. What does it tell us that so many different peoples, in their search for meaning, all chose to build a mountain that touched the sky? Yet this celestial ambition was always grounded in a powerful earthly purpose. The pyramid was a statement of authority, a physical declaration of a ruler's right to govern. While the specific rituals performed at their peaks varied dramatically across cultures, the underlying goal was always the same: to fuse political power with divine will. In Egypt, the pyramid was the ultimate royal tomb, a sealed fortress designed to protect the physical remains of a god-king and propel his spirit into the afterlife. Its very construction was a national project that commanded the labor and resources of the entire kingdom, reinforcing the pharaoh's absolute control in both life and death. Far across the world, the stone temples perched atop Mesoamerican pyramids served a different yet parallel function. These were not sealed tombs but vibrant stages for public ceremony. Here, rituals of offering, including those that involved a profound loss of life, were performed to nourish the gods and maintain the cosmic balance. The ruler, presiding over these ceremonies from the summit, positioned himself as the essential intermediary between his people and the divine forces that controlled the sun, the rain, and the harvest itself. This was power derived not just from a crown, but from a perceived role in sustaining the universe. Further east, in the kingdoms of Southeast Asia, the pyramid form was reimagined through the lens of Hindu and Buddhist cosmology. The massive temple mountains of places like Angkor Wat were not tombs or sites for a single ritual, but rather microcosms of the entire universe. Their towering, stepped profiles represented the sacred Mount Meru, the mythical axis of the world. By building this cosmic mountain, a king was not merely claiming a connection to the gods, he was declaring his entire kingdom to be a divine realm, with himself at its spiritual and political center. From the sealed chambers of Egypt to the bustling temple plazas of the Maya and the serene symbolic landscapes of Cambodia, the pyramid was the ultimate tool for legitimizing authority. It was a constant, visible reminder that the ruler's power was not merely human but sanctioned by the cosmos. This convergence of purpose across the globe reveals a profound truth about human societies. When faced with the challenge of organizing thousands of people, cultures from every continent independently arrived at the same solution: a monumental structure that reached for the heavens to justify the social order here on Earth. Building a structure the size of a mountain with nothing but human hands and simple tools seems like a task from legend. Yet this was the everyday reality for the builders of the ancient world, who faced the same colossal challenge across continents, moving millions of stone blocks or tons of earth with breathtaking ingenuity. The solutions they developed, separated by vast distances, reveal a parallel evolution in engineering genius. In the quarries of Egypt, workers would carefully insert wooden wedges into natural fissures in the limestone bedrock. These wedges were then soaked with water, causing the wood to expand with tremendous force, cleanly cracking the stone along a predetermined line. Once freed, these multi-ton blocks were transported on wooden sledges, dragged across lubricated paths, likely by large, organized teams of workers. The final, most iconic piece of the puzzle was the ramp. While the exact configuration is still debated by scholars, evidence points to a system of massive, spiraling earthen ramps that wrapped around the growing pyramid, creating a continuous roadway to lift the stones higher and higher toward the sky. This was not brute force, but a masterpiece of organized, applied physics. An ocean away, the pyramid builders of the Americas faced a similar challenge with a different toolkit. At sites like Teotihuacan, they employed a technique known as the lever and fill method. Workers would use long, sturdy wooden poles as levers to pivot and lift heavy stone slabs into place. To build the immense core of the structure, they constructed cellular compartments of rough stone, which were then filled with a packed mixture of rubble, earth, and gravel. This created a stable, massive core that was later faced with a sleek, durable layer of lime stucco, giving the pyramid its perfect, finished form. This adaptive use of local materials is another key to the global pyramid story. The Egyptians, surrounded by vast limestone quarries, built for eternity with solid stone. The Maya and their neighbors, working in a land rich in limestone and volcanic rock, perfected the art of the rubble core and the brilliant white stucco finish. In China, ancient builders sculpted their monumental pyramidal tombs directly from the earth itself, packing and shaping the land into a permanent, symbolic form. Each culture looked at the resources available in their own backyard and engineered a way to transform them into a monument that would touch the heavens. This independent convergence on such effective methods is perhaps as remarkable as the shared design itself. It tells us that when humanity is united by a common, powerful vision, we are capable of discovering the same profound truths, not through communication, but through a shared capacity for brilliant, determined innovation. The pyramid's form may point to the stars, but its foundation is a testament to the limitless potential of the human mind here on Earth. These mathematical harmonies carved in stone raise a profound question. How could builders separated by entire continents and millennia embed the same complex numbers into their monuments? The evidence suggests they were not just constructing buildings, but encoding the very fabric of the universe into their design. The Maya architects of Chichen Itza, for example, constructed the pyramid known as El Castillo with a breathtaking precision that goes far beyond its iconic silhouette. The structure features 4 stairways, each with 91 steps. When you add the single final step to the platform at the summit, you arrive at a total of 365, a direct and elegant representation of the solar year. This was not a decorative choice, it was a functional calendar rendered in limestone, aligning the earthly structure with the celestial cycle that governed planting, harvest, and ritual. Across the Atlantic, the builders of the Great Pyramid at Giza achieved a different kind of mathematical marvel. The pyramid's original perimeter, when compared to its height, produces a ratio that comes extraordinarily close to the value of 2 times pi. This mathematical constant, representing the relationship between a circle's circumference and its diameter, seems to be deliberately woven into the pyramid's very dimensions. Even more astonishingly, some researchers have pointed out that scaling up the pyramid's perimeter by a specific factor yields a number remarkably close to the Earth's polar circumference. Whether this was intentional or a byproduct of their chosen measurement system, it reveals a staggering level of geometric sophistication. They were thinking on a global scale, even if their world was much smaller than ours. These are not isolated incidents. We see the same pattern in the precise angles of the bent pyramid in Egypt, which hint at an understanding of advanced triangles, and in the foundational layouts of Mesopotamian ziggurats, which adhered to sacred ratios governing their proportions. The repeated emergence of concepts like pi and the golden ratio points to something far deeper than coincidence. It suggests that as these different cultures explored geometry and sought to create perfect, stable, and sacred forms, they kept stumbling upon the same fundamental truths. The universe operates on a set of mathematical rules, and the human mind, when applied with enough focus and reverence, is uniquely equipped to discover them. This was not a transmitted knowledge but a convergent discovery. The pyramid, in its perfect, stable form, naturally lends itself to these explorations. To build something that would last for ages required an understanding of proportion and balance. In their quest for permanence and cosmic alignment, the Egyptian scribe calculating the slope for a pharaoh's tomb and the Maya astronomer counting the days for a new temple both arrived at the same silent numerical language. Their monuments stand as permanent testimony to a shared human capacity to perceive the hidden geometry of our world. What other universal truths might we all be capable of discovering when we look at the world with the same determined curiosity? The silent language of mathematics found its voice in the movements of the stars. These monuments were not just symbolic links to the heavens, they were precision instruments, grand observatories carved from stone. Their primary function was to track time itself, marking the seasons that dictated planting and harvest, and the sacred dates that structured religious life. The solar alignments engineered into these structures were so accurate they could pinpoint a single day out of the entire year. In the rolling green hills of Ireland, the massive, ancient mound of Newgrange predates even the Egyptian pyramids. Its most stunning feature is a long, narrow passage that leads to a central chamber. For just a few minutes at dawn on the winter solstice, around December 21st, a brilliant shaft of sunlight pierces through a special opening above the entrance, known as a roof box. This beam of light travels down the dark passageway and dramatically illuminates the inner chamber, a fleeting event that marks the turning of the year and the promise of the sun's return. This was a monumental calendar built into the landscape, telling its people when the darkest days were finally over. An entire world away, high in the Andes Mountains of Peru, the Inca civilization at Machu Picchu achieved a similar feat with the Intihuatana stone. This intricately carved granite pillar, whose name means the hitching post of the sun, sits atop a pyramidal platform of terraced stone. On the equinoxes, when day and night are of equal length, the sun stands almost directly overhead, casting no shadow from the stone at its zenith. The Inca astronomers used this precise alignment to confirm the sun's position in the sky, allowing them to fix the exact dates for their most important ceremonies and agricultural cycles. The stone was an anchor, a way to literally tie the sun to the earth and ensure its continued journey across the heavens. From the damp chill of an Irish winter to the thin, clear air of the Andean highlands, these cultures both looked to the sun and saw the same urgent need to measure its path. They both arrived at the same solution, embedding a precise solar event into a permanent, immovable stone structure. This practical, astronomical utility, woven so tightly with spiritual significance, is what made pyramids the very heart of ancient life. They were more than temples or tombs, they were the clocks and calendars of their civilizations, guiding entire societies through the year and reinforcing their connection to the cosmic order. When the sun lit that inner chamber or failed to cast a shadow, it was a moment of both practical confirmation and profound spiritual awe, a reminder that human time was forever bound to the eternal rhythms of the universe. This recurring architectural vision leads us to a compelling scientific theory known as psychic unity. The core idea is that all human minds, regardless of culture or location, share a fundamental cognitive framework. Faced with similar environmental and social challenges, different societies can independently arrive at the same brilliant solutions. The pyramid is a perfect example of this phenomenon in action. Its broad, stable base is the most logical and sturdy shape for constructing a tall, imposing monument that will stand for ages. Any culture that sets out to build something immense and permanent, using stone or earth, would naturally gravitate toward this tapering, gravity-defying form. The symbolic power is just as universal. A structure that rises from a wide, grounded foundation to a narrow peak is a physical metaphor for ascent, a bridge between the earthly plane and the heavens above. It is a shape that instinctively speaks of order, stability, and a reach toward the divine. This theory suggests that the pyramid was not a single invention that spread, but a concept that was born again and again from a shared human psyche. When a society reaches a certain level of complexity, with a powerful ruler and a need to express its connection to the cosmos, the pyramid emerges as a kind of cultural inevitability. It is the ultimate expression of a universal human desire to build high, build to last, and to physically manifest our place in the universe. The psychic unity theory asks us to see these structures not as evidence of a lost global civilization, but as a testament to the incredible, parallel creativity of the human spirit. What does it say about us that when left to our own devices, separated by continents and centuries, we so often choose to build the same mountain? But this theory of independent invention is not the only answer on the table. An entirely different explanation, known as diffusionism, proposes a world far more connected in antiquity than we ever imagined. This idea suggests that the seeds of pyramid building were not planted separately in each culture, but were carried across oceans by ancient seafaring peoples. Proponents of this view look at the global map and see not isolated points of light, but a network, with knowledge of this monumental architecture traveling along forgotten trade routes or with migratory groups. They argue that the similarities are simply too precise to be the result of chance. What if a single, advanced maritime civilization, now lost to history, once sailed the world, sharing its architectural and astronomical wisdom with developing cultures from the Mediterranean to the Americas? The evidence put forward often includes intriguing, if debated, clues. On the Canary Islands, for instance, the Guanches people built step pyramid structures known as moradas. These stone platforms, while modest in scale, bear a striking resemblance to the foundational layers of ziggurats or other pyramidal forms. Could these islands have been a stopping point, a way station for ancient voyagers crossing the Atlantic? Further fueling the speculation are parallels in art and iconography found in both the Old World and the New. Certain symbols, like the serpent motif, appear with remarkable similarity in ancient Egypt and in Mesoamerican cultures, sometimes depicted in contexts related to pyramid ceremonies. The idea of a global exchange, however, forces us to confront immense practical challenges. The distances involved are staggering, and the archaeological record for such pre-Columbian transoceanic contact remains thin and hotly contested. Mainstream scholarship maintains that while limited, sporadic contact might have been possible, it is highly unlikely to account for the widespread, deep-seated, and complex tradition of pyramid construction that emerged independently over thousands of years. The diffusionist theory asks us to weigh a fascinating possibility. Were our ancestors more adventurous, more interconnected than our history books typically allow? Or does the persistent reappearance of the pyramid form, even in the absence of concrete proof for such voyages, point to something even more profound about the shared architecture of the human mind itself? Another possibility lies not in the human mind or ancient sailors, but in the very ground beneath our feet. A third theory suggests that the Earth itself may have subtly guided the hands of ancient architects. Some researchers propose that environmental factors, such as regions prone to seismic activity, could have naturally encouraged the development of the pyramid form. Its wide base and low center of gravity make it remarkably resistant to earthquakes, a practical solution that early builders might have discovered through observation and necessity. The stability inherent in this shape would have been a powerful advantage in a volatile landscape, leading to its adoption and refinement over generations. This idea expands into a more speculative, yet fascinating, realm involving the planet's invisible energy fields. A controversial but persistent line of inquiry looks at the placement of many ancient pyramids along what are known as ley lines, hypothetical alignments that are said to connect ancient sacred sites across great distances. Furthermore, some sites are purported to be located directly atop areas with unusual geomagnetic activity, often described as magnetic vortices. From this perspective, these monumental structures were not merely tombs or temples, but sophisticated devices designed to interact with the Earth's own energies. Proponents of this view argue that the unique geometry of the pyramid could act as an amplifier or conduit for these subtle forces, potentially harnessing them for purposes we are only beginning to understand, perhaps for enhancing agricultural fertility, influencing spiritual practices, or even affecting human consciousness. While mainstream science remains skeptical of such claims due to a lack of conclusive evidence, this perspective opens a profound and poetic line of thought. It invites us to consider a deep, symbiotic relationship between our ancestors and their planet. Instead of seeing these cultures as imposing their will upon a passive landscape, we can view them as listening intently to the whispers of the earth. They may have chosen their sacred sites not just for their visibility or proximity to resources, but because they felt a palpable, energetic quality there, a telluric force that made a location feel truly alive and connected to the cosmos. The pyramid, in its perfect stability and upward reach, would then be the ultimate architectural response to this perceived energy, a structure that grounds the celestial to the terrestrial while harmonizing with the planet's own hidden currents. This theory, whether ultimately proven or not, challenges us to see these global monuments not as isolated creations, but as profound expressions of a living, breathing world. Perhaps the most profound connection lies not in the external world, but deep within the human psyche itself. This idea was championed by the pioneering psychologist Carl Jung, who proposed the existence of a collective unconscious. He believed that beneath our personal memories and experiences, all of humanity shares a deep, inherited reservoir of psychic structures. Within this shared foundation reside archetypes, which are universal, primal patterns of thought and imagery. These are not learned concepts, but innate psychological blueprints that shape our dreams, our myths, and our most fundamental symbols. The pyramid, in its perfect geometry, fits this model with astonishing clarity. It emerges as a powerful archetype of ascent, representing the human journey from a base, material existence toward a higher state of consciousness or spiritual enlightenment. It is an archetype of stability, its broad foundation embodying an unshakable order in a chaotic world. And it is an archetype of the sacred mountain, a universal symbol for the axis connecting our world to the divine realm. From this psychological vantage point, the global pattern of pyramids is no longer a mystery of diffusion or independent engineering. It is a spontaneous manifestation. When a culture reaches a certain level of spiritual and social complexity, this dormant archetype of the sacred mountain awakens, pushing its way from the collective unconscious into the collective reality. The Egyptian priest, the Maya shaman, and the Mesopotamian king were not copying a design. They were all giving physical form to the same powerful symbol that already lived within them. This theory beautifully bridges the inner world of the mind with the outer world of archaeology. It suggests that our ancient monuments are more than just feats of engineering. They are the solidified dreams of humanity, built from a shared psychological substance. What does it mean that the same form that rises from the sands of Egypt and the jungles of Guatemala also rises from the deepest layers of our own minds? It implies that the drive to build toward the heavens is not a cultural choice, but a fundamental part of what it means to be human. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a silent witness to an ambition that borders on the divine. Its sides are aligned to the cardinal directions with an error of less than 1/15 of a degree, a precision that would challenge modern surveyors even with their advanced tools. This was not merely a tomb, it was a machine for immortality, engineered to launch a pharaoh's spirit on its eternal journey. The entire Giza plateau was a vast celestial engine, with each pyramid positioned with intentionality, its corridors and chambers angled to target specific stars in the northern sky, creating a cosmic roadmap for the soul. This architectural perfection demanded a societal effort of staggering proportions. For decades, tens of thousands of skilled workers, not slaves as often depicted, were housed, fed, and organized in a sprawling complex near the build site. They operated with the efficiency of a modern corporation, managing supply chains that brought limestone from across the river and granite from quarries hundreds of miles to the south. The final act of construction involved casing the entire structure in brilliantly polished, white Tura limestone, creating a surface so smooth it would have reflected the sun's rays like a man-made mountain of light, visible for miles across the desert. This gleaming peak was the final earthly site for a pharaoh, a launching point from the world of the living to the realm of the gods. The pyramid's internal chambers, sealed from the outside world, were stocked with everything the ruler would need for the afterlife, from food and furniture to sacred texts, ensuring his needs were met and his authority continued beyond his physical passing. The entire civilization was mobilized around this single project, a national endeavor that reinforced social order, demonstrated the king's absolute power, and fulfilled a collective spiritual duty. When we look at the Great Pyramid, we are not just seeing stones, we are seeing the crystallized will of an entire culture, a perfect geometric prayer carved into the landscape, designed not for the ages but for eternity itself. The gleaming limestone of the Great Pyramid may have been a bridge to the stars, but across the ocean, the pyramids of Mesoamerica pulsed with the vibrant rhythm of life itself. At Chichen Itza, the Pyramid of Kukulkan stands as a masterwork of celestial theater. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, as the sun sets, a spectacular play of light and shadow unfolds along the northern staircase. The step terraces cast a series of triangular shadows upon the balustrade, creating the undulating body of a massive serpent that appears to slither down from the temple at the summit to join its stone head at the base. This was no mere architectural accident. It was a meticulously engineered symbol of the feathered serpent god Kukulkan descending to earth, a manifestation of renewal, fertility, and the eternal cycle connecting the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. The entire structure was a cosmic engine designed for public spectacle, reinforcing the idea that the gods were present and active in the world, and that the community played a vital role in this cosmic dialogue. Unlike the sealed, silent tombs of Egypt, these pyramids were the living heart of the city, their platform stages for ceremonies that engaged the entire populace. The philosophy underpinning this was a profound belief in cyclical time, where the world required constant nourishment and renewal to prevent it from falling into chaos. This need for renewal is literally written into the stones of these monuments. Archaeologists have discovered that many Mesoamerican pyramids are like architectural onions, with layers built over generations. A ruler seeking to legitimize his power or mark a new cosmic era would not destroy the old temple, but would encase it within a new, larger shell. This practice of layered construction created a physical timeline, with each new phase representing a dynastic shift or an updated understanding of the cosmos, all while honoring the sacredness of the original site. And these structures were far from the muted stone we see today. They were once brilliant canvases of color, painted in vibrant reds, blues, and yellows with intricate murals depicting gods, kings, and cosmic events. Where the Egyptian pyramid was a solitary, gleaming monument to eternal individual glory, the Mesoamerican pyramid was a communal, polychrome heart, beating in time with the cycles of nature and the shared spiritual life of the people. Both, however, reveal a universal human obsession with time, one seeking to escape its linear flow into eternity, and the other seeking to actively participate in its sacred, endless turn. The gleaming temples of Mesoamerica reveal a culture deeply engaged with the cycles of life, but if we journey back even further in time to the sun-baked plains of Mesopotamia, we find a different interpretation of the sacred mountain. Here stood the ziggurat, a structure that proves the pyramid form was a flexible blueprint, not a rigid template. The ziggurat of built around 2,100 years before the Common Era, was a colossal stairway of baked mud bricks, its core not a solid mass of stone but a carefully engineered network of drainage channels and stabilizing layers designed to withstand the elements. At its summit, far above the bustling city, stood a small, exquisite temple, a place believed to be the literal dwelling of the city's patron deity. This was not a tomb for a mortal king, but a home for a god. The priests alone would ascend the monument's massive frontal staircases, a journey that symbolized leaving the mundane world behind to enter the divine presence. This architectural choice reflects a distinct theological need. While the solid Egyptian pyramid sealed its occupant away for a solitary journey to the stars, the Mesopotamian ziggurat was a place of active, ongoing connection. Its hollow core and accessible summit facilitated a continuous relationship between the community and their god, with the priesthood acting as the essential intermediaries. The very substance of the ziggurat speaks to its environment. In a land with little stone, they built with what they had in abundance, mud and fire, creating bricks that have endured for millennia. This variation in design and material is profoundly important. It shows that the core idea of the pyramid, the man-made sacred mountain, was powerful enough to be adapted to local beliefs and resources. The people of did not copy a foreign design. They took a universal human impulse and built their own unique answer to it, a towering beacon of baked earth that served as a constant reminder of the divine watching over their city. The pyramid form reveals its true versatility not just in the tombs of kings, but in the very path to enlightenment itself. In the lush highlands of central Java, Indonesia, the colossal structure of Borobudur rises from the earth, a breathtaking fusion of architecture and spiritual instruction. This is not a tomb for a single ruler, but a three-dimensional guidebook for countless pilgrims. Constructed as a massive, stepped stupa around the 8th century, its design is a deliberate mandala in stone. Pilgrims do not simply look at Borobudur, they walk it, following a prescribed path that spirals upward along its 9 terraced levels. The journey begins at the base, which represents the world of desire, and ascends through the world of form, finally reaching the circular terraces at the summit, which symbolize the formless world of pure spirit and ultimate nirvana. Each relief-carved panel along the way depicts a scene from the life of the Buddha or a Jataka tale, turning the entire ascent into a walking meditation. Here, the pyramid is not a sealed monument but an open, participatory experience, its stepped sides physically enacting the Buddhist journey of leaving earthly attachments behind to achieve a higher state of consciousness. Across the sea, in the plains of ancient China, the pyramid took on a different yet equally profound spiritual role. From the early dynasties, emperors were laid to rest within massive, pyramidal earth mounds. These were not just grand tombs, but carefully engineered landscapes designed according to the principles of Feng Shui. The broad, square base and gently sloping sides of these mounds were meant to harmonize with the surrounding hills and waterways, creating a perfect balance of energies to protect the emperor's spirit and ensure the stability of his dynasty. The mound itself was a symbolic mountain, a pivot point between heaven and earth that allowed the deceased ruler to maintain a watchful, benevolent influence over the kingdom from the afterlife. The quiet, enduring presence of these earthen pyramids speaks to a deep cultural practice of ancestral veneration, where honoring those who came before was essential for the prosperity of those living in the present. From the vibrant, narrative ascent of Borobudur to the serene, harmonious burial mounds of China, we see the same fundamental shape serving entirely different spiritual frameworks. One is an active journey toward personal enlightenment, the other a passive, eternal resting place ensuring cosmic and social order. This stunning adaptability proves that the pyramid was far more than a single, rigid symbol. It was a universal architectural language capable of expressing humanity's most diverse and deeply held beliefs about life, death, and what lies beyond. The story of pyramids stretches far beyond the famous skyline of Giza into landscapes rarely featured in the popular imagination. In the heart of the Mediterranean, on the island of Sicily, a mysterious stone platform known as Monte Ducote rises from the plains. Built over 4,000 years ago, it resembles a massive, stepped pyramid or a truncated ziggurat, a lone architectural echo from a prehistoric past that defies easy classification. Meanwhile, further south along the Nile, in what is now Sudan, a field of sharp, steep-sided pyramids pierces the desert sky. These are the Nubian pyramids, built centuries after Egypt's own pyramid age had faded into legend. They stand as monuments to the kings and queens of the Kingdom of Kush, a powerful African civilization that rivaled its northern neighbor. The existence of these sites fundamentally reshapes our understanding. The pyramid was not the exclusive property of a handful of famous empires. It was a global architectural language spoken even by cultures we are only beginning to fully appreciate. This widespread pattern directly confronts a long-held, Eurocentric view of history that often placed ancient Egypt in a category of its own, separate from the rest of Africa and the world. The Nubian pyramids, in particular, offer a powerful corrective. They were not poor imitations but unique expressions of a local tradition, built with steeper angles and distinctive decorative elements that reflected their own cultural identity. Their builders were not mere students of Egypt, but peers and sometimes even rulers of the Nile Valley, demonstrating a sophisticated and independent command of engineering and statecraft. Recognizing these lesser-known monuments invites a more inclusive and accurate view of the ancient world. It reveals a tapestry of innovation where technological brilliance and spiritual ambition were not confined to one region or one people, but flourished across continents, from the islands of Europe to the heart of Africa. What other chapters of this global story are still waiting quietly to be rediscovered beneath the sand and soil? The very stones these monuments were built from hold secrets about the societies that shaped them. Modern science now listens to these whispers through tools like X-ray fluorescence and isotopic analysis, techniques that act as a kind of chemical fingerprint for rock. These methods allow researchers to trace a stone block back to its exact quarry, revealing not just how these cultures built, but the intricate economic networks that fueled their ambitions. For the Egyptian builders, the brilliant white casing stones that once made the pyramids gleam like mirrors were quarried from Tura, located on the opposite bank of the Nile. This was a deliberate choice of the finest quality material, requiring a massive logistical operation to transport millions of tons of limestone across the river. The journey of these stones was a testament to a highly organized state capable of commanding resources from a wide area. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the Maya architects displayed a different kind of genius, one of deep adaptation to their local environment. They worked with the limestone bedrock that lay beneath their feet, quarrying it and then transforming it through fire into lime plaster. This plaster was mixed with water and crushed stone to create a durable, smooth coating that could be painted in vibrant colors. The Maya did not just use their local resources, they mastered a complex chemical process to create a signature building material that defined their architectural aesthetic. This contrast in sourcing tells a profound story about cultural priorities and environmental relationships. The Egyptians invested in a far-flung supply chain to achieve a specific visual perfection and permanence. The Maya developed a sophisticated local industry that turned their landscape itself into a polished work of art. Both approaches, however, reveal a common truth. The pyramid was not an isolated project, it was the pinnacle of a vast and complex economic system. The choice of stone was never just a practical decision. It was a statement of identity, power, and a profound understanding of the land they called home. The idea of ancient mariners crossing vast oceans to share architectural secrets is a compelling one, forcing us to walk a delicate line between healthy skepticism and genuine wonder. To evaluate this possibility, we must turn to the hard evidence, or the notable lack of it, found in the archaeological record. Mainstream scholarship has yet to uncover a single, verified artifact from ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia in a pre-Columbian American site, or a definitive piece of Mesoamerican pottery in the soil of the Old World. Such a discovery would be revolutionary, but for now it remains elusive. Similarly, linguistic connections are tenuous at best. While some have pointed to similar sounding words for concepts like the sun or a serpent in different language families, these parallels are often dismissed by experts as coincidence, lacking the systematic grammatical and vocabulary links that would prove a shared ancestry. The most promising and still debated evidence comes from the field of genetics. Studies have suggested traces of Polynesian DNA in some indigenous South American populations, pointing to ancient contact across the Pacific. And the presence of the sweet potato, a plant native to the Americas, in Polynesia long before European arrival, strongly suggests that some form of transoceanic exchange did occur. Yet even this fascinating clue does not directly connect to pyramid building cultures. This leaves us with a mosaic of intriguing but inconclusive hints. Could artistic parallels, like the shared reverence for the feathered serpent, which appears as Quetzalcoatl in Mesoamerica and in a different form as a winged serpent in Egypt, point to a shared, ancient mythos rather than direct contact? The evidence as it stands suggests that if any contact happened, it was likely sporadic and indirect, a fleeting encounter that left cultural ripples but not a full-blown architectural blueprint. Our current knowledge has clear limits, and the true story of our ancient world may be far more complex and interconnected than we once believed. This is not a failure of science, but an invitation to keep looking, to remain open to the possibility that our ancestors were more adventurous than we can currently prove. A quiet revolution is unfolding in archaeology, not with shovels and brushes, but with lasers and radar. From the dense, mist-shrouded jungles of Guatemala, a technology known as LiDAR is peeling back the canopy, revealing the ghostly footprints of entire cities. By firing millions of laser pulses from an aircraft, researchers can digitally strip away the vegetation, creating a detailed map of the ground below. What was once thought to be isolated ceremonial centers are now revealed as vast, interconnected urban networks, with causeways, reservoirs, and defensive walls sprawling for miles. And within these newly revealed cityscapes, the unmistakable shapes of previously unknown pyramids emerge, their long-lost forms hidden for centuries beneath a green sea. These are not just new structures, they are entire chapters of human history, silently waiting for a technology that could finally see them. Meanwhile, on the ground at known sites, another non-invasive tool is at work. Ground-penetrating radar sends subtle pulses of energy into the earth, painting a picture of what lies beneath the surface without ever breaking the soil. This method has revealed hidden chambers and internal tunnels within existing pyramids, secret spaces that may hold clues to their construction sequence or their deepest ceremonial purposes. Each of these technological discoveries acts like a new piece fitted into our global pyramid puzzle. A pyramid in Guatemala, once thought to be a solitary temple, is now understood to be the heart of a sprawling metropolis. A mound in Europe, long considered a natural hill, is confirmed to be a carefully engineered structure. This expanding map does more than just add new locations. It deepens our understanding of the scale and complexity of this shared human endeavor. We are learning that the impulse to build these monumental forms was even more widespread, and the societies that built them even more sophisticated than we ever dreamed. What other secrets are still sleeping just beneath our feet, waiting for the right moment to be seen? This very mystery that captivates scholars has also proven fertile ground for the modern imagination. The undeniable majesty of the pyramids, combined with gaps in our historical understanding, has inspired a parallel universe of theories that often eclipse academic consensus. Why would ancient cultures without modern technology construct such impossible monuments? This question, left partially unanswered, is a vacuum that alternative narratives are eager to fill. One of the most persistent ideas suggests these structures were built with the aid of advanced extraterrestrial beings. From this perspective, the precise astronomical alignments and multi-ton stone blocks are not testaments to human genius, but evidence of otherworldly intervention, a kind of celestial instruction manual left behind for a primitive humanity. This narrative transforms the pyramid from a human achievement into a mysterious alien artifact. Similarly, the global pattern of these monuments has long been linked to the legend of a lost continent, Atlantis. The theory proposes that a single, advanced civilization, now submerged beneath the waves, was the original source of pyramid-building knowledge. Survivors of this cataclysm, according to the story, then scattered across the globe, seeding this architectural idea in Egypt, the Americas, and beyond. These speculative stories are powerful because they tap into a deep-seated sense of wonder. They offer a single, elegant solution to a complex, sprawling puzzle that spans millennia, simplifying a messy human story into a grander, more dramatic epic. They flourish in the spaces between archaeological discoveries, filling historical silences with compelling, if unproven, narratives. Understanding this cultural phenomenon is crucial, not to dismiss the sense of awe, but to appreciate the different ways we seek meaning from the past. Scholarly research builds its case slowly, piece by piece, through excavated artifacts, radiocarbon dating, and linguistic analysis. It presents a human-scale story of trial, error, and brilliant innovation. Alternative history, by contrast, often operates on a mythic scale, offering answers that are emotionally satisfying and spiritually grand. The enduring appeal of these theories reminds us that the pyramids are more than just piles of stone. They are mirrors reflecting our own timeless desire for the world to hold greater secrets, for history to be more wondrous than we ever thought possible. These magnificent structures have inspired countless stories, but some of the most persistent tales are more fiction than fact. A common belief is that the pyramids were built by vast armies of slaves, driven by the whip to move impossible stones. Archaeological evidence, however, paints a very different and far more human picture. Excavations near the Giza Plateau have uncovered purpose-built villages for the workers, complete with bakeries, hospitals, and cemeteries. The remains found in these burial sites show signs of skilled medical care, including healed fractures, indicating that these individuals were valued, cared for laborers. They were not slaves, but a rotating workforce of highly skilled Egyptian farmers who worked on the monuments during the Nile's annual flood season, when their fields were underwater. This was a national project of profound religious significance, a form of civic duty that provided wages in the form of food, beer, and lodging. shifting our perspective from a narrative of oppression to one of organized, communal effort allows us to appreciate the true social and logistical marvel these constructions represent. Another widespread myth suggests these were merely tombs and nothing more. While it is true that many pyramids, particularly in Egypt, served as royal burial places, this label is too narrow to capture their full function. They were also centers of ongoing economic activity, administrative hubs, and powerful symbols of state authority that unified the culture. To claim they were only tombs is like saying a great cathedral is only a burial ground, ignoring its role as a place of worship, art, and community gathering for centuries. At the other end of the speculative spectrum lies the idea that pyramids were sophisticated power plants or energy generators. While the geometric form does interact with natural energies in fascinating ways, there is no archaeological evidence for complex machinery or wiring. The real power they generated was not electrical but social and spiritual. They focused a society's collective effort, expressed its cosmic beliefs, and projected the enduring strength of its civilization. By clearing away these exaggerated claims, we do not diminish the pyramids. We actually honor the ancient builders more deeply because we are left with their genuine, tangible achievement, a triumph of human cooperation, ingenuity, and faith, accomplished with the tools and understanding of their time. That enduring geometric form never truly vanished from our world. It simply evolved, its silhouette echoing through centuries of architectural ambition. Long after the last ancient pyramid was completed, Renaissance architects across Europe unearthed the writings of Vitruvius and became captivated by the geometric purity and divine proportions they saw in Egyptian monuments. For masters like Brunelleschi, the pyramid represented an ideal balance between earthly stability and celestial aspiration, a concept he wove into the elegant lines of his domes and spires, creating a new architectural language rooted in an ancient one. This fascination solidified during the neoclassical era, where the pyramid became a potent symbol of permanence and enlightened reason. Grandiose structures like the Pantheon in Paris, while not pyramids themselves, drew upon that same language of monumental scale and geometric order, channeling the authority of the ancient world to legitimize new political ideals. The pyramid's journey continued into the modern metropolis, its form adapted for entirely new challenges. The same principles of a broad base and a tapering peak that ensured a stone monument would stand for millennia are now calculated by engineers to help skyscrapers withstand powerful winds and seismic forces. Look at the Transamerica Pyramid in San Francisco, its sleek form designed to deflect wind currents, a direct descendant of those ancient calculations for eternal stability. Even the sweeping roofs of modern sports stadiums often rely on a pyramidal internal support system, a hidden skeleton that bears immense weight while creating vast, open spaces for thousands of people. This architectural DNA has even been encoded into our visual culture. The sharp, triangular form appears in corporate logos and luxury branding, subconsciously communicating strength, stability, and a pinnacle of achievement. Today, the influence is taking an exciting turn toward sustainability. Architects are rediscovering the passive environmental benefits of the pyramid. Its shape promotes natural ventilation, and its angled surfaces are perfectly suited for mounting solar panels, turning a building into its own power source. The pyramid is no longer just a relic or a symbol. It is being reimagined as a blueprint for a resilient, eco-conscious future. This 2,000-year conversation between past and present proves that the pyramid was never just a tomb or a temple. It is a fundamental architectural idea, one that humanity keeps rediscovering because its answers to the problems of weight, weather, and wonder are, quite simply, timeless. This grand tapestry of human ingenuity, woven across continents and millennia, asks us to see our past not as isolated threads but as a single, magnificent fabric. From the celestial engines of Giza to the vibrant ritual stages of Chichen Itza, from the earthen tombs of China to the meditative path of Borobudur, these monuments speak a universal language. They tell a story of communities looking at the same sky, feeling the same pull toward the divine, and using the materials at hand to build their own bridge to the heavens. The true connection may not be a lost civilization or a forgotten sea route, but something far more profound, the shared architecture of the human spirit itself. Whether through independent invention guided by psychic unity or faint, tantalizing echoes of ancient contact, the result is the same, a testament to our common drive to impose order on chaos, to seek meaning in the stars, and to create something that will outlast our own brief lives. These stone mountains are a permanent part of our collective inheritance, reminding us of a time when the entire world was engaged in a silent, coordinated reach for the sky. Let this journey inspire you to look deeper into the wonders of our shared past, to question the stories we think we know, and to see the extraordinary threads that connect us all. We would love to hear which of these global pyramids captured your imagination the most, so feel free to share your own thoughts and reflections in the comments below.